Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, and you're watching another episode of the Food and Finance Show on the Business Talk Library. And today we have a great treat because, a lot of people love brownies, but I love the way that they're blending so many great things with it and just bringing out so many new recipes. So definitely stay tuned. Got a great episode coming your way.
Welcome to another great episode of the Food and Finance Show, where we talk about two things we know you love: great food and money. So stay tuned because we got a great show coming your way.
Again, now, without further ado, I'm just going to bring Kathy on. Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Terrell. So nice to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Now, when I saw you on LinkedIn and I was looking and I was like, you know what, salted baked goods, that just sounds like something I need to learn more about.
Yes, so salted baked goods. It came about, well, I guess you wanted to know what was my path to the food industry. I actually, this is a second act for me. Okay. So I had a long and very fulfilling career at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, in the retail, visual merchandising, and store design part of the business. And so I think that kind of explains a lot of how my product, everything looks with my brand, because it's something that I know a lot about, how to present things, and how all of that. But as far as food goes, I'm a home baker. I've been a baker all of my life, and it was something I always just went to, for stress relief or whatever it was. It's just something I love to do for myself and my family, my friends. But I guess things happen. There was some new management that came into the museum a few years ago, and it changed the kind of nature of my position. I had some creative autonomy that I had lost, and a boss that we didn't really have the same aesthetic or see eye to eye all the time. So I started to kind of use the baking as almost more of a creative outlet for me, as some kind of relief from that situation. And then decided to take actually a course at the Institute of Culinary Education in 2014. And that sort of intensified my interest, and then also gave me some tools, right, to play with, things that I learned that I hadn't known before, since just being a home baker. So with that combination, I started to play, and I had this brownie recipe that I had found, and I just started to change it because I now had some kind of knowledge as to how to do that. And in that changing of it, and with a particular, I think, combination of ingredients is really, it's so critical, the ingredients that you use to bake anything. Like, people have made many comments online about price of the brownies, or like, oh, you could just buy a box of brownies in the grocery store and make your own brownies for so cheap. I'm like, sure, I applaud that. Go for it, have a good time. But the taste of that versus the taste of my brownies it's like apples and oranges. It's two completely different things. So I'm like, whatever. It's like, so it's the high quality ingredient. It's the proportion and the balance that the whole thing behind my company, Salted Baked Goods, is really about this balance of sweet and savory. And I know that salt and baked goods, that's another one that's funny. People comment about that too. Sometimes they're like, what is it with people putting salt in all their baked goods? Like, well, it never used to be a thing, right? But now it is a thing. And the reason that it's actually a thing is that it's really good, because salt actually brings out the flavor, particularly of chocolate, but of many things. Well, all food really. But so the idea of having this salty and sweet thing was, something that I kind of thought, well, that's I like that kind of direction. And I was gonna initially name the company about like brownies, something to do with brownies, but then I had a very business savvy brother-in-law, and he was like, Kathy, do you really want to pigeonhole yourself into just only ever making brownies? And I'm like, no, I don't. So I think that it was a really, really excellent piece of advice, because now it allows me to expand the line to have all different kinds of treats, not just brownies. Although I think the brownies will be always the pillar, I think, of my business. So what happened was I made these brownies and I started to bring them into work, and people were like, "Oh my God!" They're like, "These are the best brownies we've ever had." And friends and colleagues and family were all saying, "You should sell these." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." I'm like, "You're crazy. I'm not going to sell these." Like, no. But then strangers started telling me these things. Like, I would bring them to an event, and then people would come, who made these brownies? And they would tell me, like, these are the best brownies I've ever had. And so I had a particular employee who worked for me, a part-timer at that time, and she was like, "Kathy, you have to," Gigi was like, "Kathy, you have to do something with this. It's incredible. You can't." And even like the temporary boss, like the head of merchandising at the time, he was a consultant. He was telling me, he was like, "These are amazing." He was like one of my biggest fans. I'm like, so I started to just on Facebook, to family and friends, like a little virtual bakery, and I was like, okay,
Nice.
and then it kind of grew from there, and things at work kind of was getting worse and worse, and so the baking was just becoming more and more important to me, and and then I decided to just like do a holiday show, right, a craft fair, and I did that, and that weekend that I did that, I sold out of the brownies that I brought to that.
Oh, wow.
and so I guess that's what they call in the industry, like proof of concept. I was like, okay,
What was your expectation for that first show?
I did not have that expectation. Like, and I was like, there was a girl a couple of tables down from me selling cupcakes, and she came over to say, "How did you do? How did you do?" And I was like, "Well," I said, pretty much I sold out." And then her face kind of fell, and I was like, oh, "How did you do?" And she was just kind of like, "Not that good, not that good." Sorry, but I think a lot of that was actually that I had what she didn't do, which she should have done, was having sample. For people, it's all, I mean, with food, obviously, it's like, it's about the taste, right? And many people would, after they taste the brownies, they would buy them. So that was like, I think the thing is that proof is in the taste. So, but even that, if somebody had told me even at 2014, when I was taking that class, that I would be the owner and founder of a food business, like I would tell them that they've lost their mind. I really thought I'd be working at the vet until they took me out on the stretcher.
So I would say, how has that been? I mean, because it's one thing to, really love your craft and be good at what you do, but then, all the other aspects of like building a business around it. How is like it been learning that side of it?
Well, it's interesting. I was a couple things I would say. The first thing I would say about me and this food business is that again, because I'm a home baker, mostly self-trained chef, like there are tons of people who know a lot more about baking than I do, 100%. But what those people don't have is like over 25 years of like merchandise presentation, branding, like understanding how to sell things. And I think that's gives me, I think, a big advantage in terms of like how my product is perceived and how my company is perceived. Because I think I look pretty well resolved on the public facing, but honestly, I'm a very small company, and I think I look farther along than I really am. So I'm like, and that the other thing I would say that I did, which was really excellent, was that there used to be a food incubator named Pilotworks. I don't know if you've heard of Pilotworks before.
I haven't heard of that one before.
They were based in New York City, but they did have other locations that they had expanded out through the country. And so they were like excellent, it was a resource for people like me who was like, okay, we're going to hold your hand and teach you what it takes to be in the food business in New York, or even, wherever you are, and kind of take you through that process of like learning what's required and like all the, the certification that you need and all this other stuff, and business acumen as well. So I took that course and I learned a lot from that, for sure. But again, I think I would be blending it with what I learned selling it, how to sell something at, in the Metropolitan Museum. It's like, I knew about opening price point. I know about a good, better, best strategy. I know there's just a lot of things that I knew about selling that I think have helped me with this business.
Awesome. That's one of the things that I find to be very consistent where a lot of people say, where they really loved what they did, but they had to learn the sales side and like the presentation of the product or the service. I mean, that's probably a huge advantage for you going into it of already having that in place.
I think so, definitely. But where I struggle, where I still have a lot of catching up to do is like the baking, that side of it. Like there's so much to know about baking, and I'm like, but I had talked to a friend of mine who was also in Pilot. We met in Pilot Works, and she's fantastic, and now has a hugely successful business that she has done. And she gave me, she had all the pastry and the professional background that I didn't have, and I said, look, am I insane doing this company? Like, am I crazy? And she's like, no. She's like, if you were going to try to open like a standalone bakery with your knowledge, then I would say don't do that, but because I had this this brownie, this one product, she's like, you can definitely handle that, So there were some tears, I'm not going to lie, in the kitchen, some mistakes that were made and like learning growing pains and all of that. But it's been over 2 years now that I've been in the professional like kitchen setting, and I've learned so much just doing that. And I think that I still have a lot more I need to learn about that, but also about business. I'm not going to lie. I'm not, there's still a lot to learn about being an entrepreneur and I have to wear so many different hats,
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Absolutely understand. Now that people, have heard about the amazing product, so where can they find it online?
Right. So it's saltedbakedgoods.com is my website. There you go. And yes, that is there. And it's funny, like I have my original 3 flavors of brownies, which is the original sea salt, a little spicy chipotle cinnamon, and then espresso. And then I just recently launched my brand new flavor, the salted caramel. So I have 4 brownie flavors right now, and I will continue to add to that. But and I think hopefully maybe by the end of the summer I'm going to try for launching maybe a cookie. That's my next thing I want to do. But yeah. So and I also you can get my product obviously online, as you can see. But I also do have a small location that I have reopened at what's called Turnstile Underground Market in New York City here. It's part of the Columbus Circle subway station at 59th Street. And for those of you who are familiar with that, there you can see Underground Market right there. So that's something that you can find me there on limited schedule, but I'm there in the afternoons on 4 days a week.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. And I mean, it's amazing. One of the questions I wanted to ask was about the gift sets. What spurred your idea to come up with those options? I mean, they look amazing.
This is my strength. Okay. This is my jam. Like I know how to present things, I went to art school. I would study photography. All of the photography you see, I've done all of that. I do pretty much everything. Thank God my sister is amazing and she created the website for me. But like I do most everything else. And the gift sets, because of the way I package my product, I knew that I had the opportunity to make some really beautiful gifting moments, right, for people. And I just, because I have this whole background in presentation and selling merchandise, this to me was something that I had as a strength that I could sort of flex that muscle and sort of be a differentiator for my business, because there's plenty of places where you can get brownies, right? But like they won't look as elegant as this. And then of course, the flavor. Right, girl, I should have sent you some brownies ahead of this. So you could be installing the wonders of my brownies. But
Awesome. Well, I absolutely love it. Well, before we wrap up, one question I always like to ask every guest that comes on. I mean, it's like, when you think about your journey so far, what's 2 pieces of advice you would share with other business owners?
Right. So I guess I would say 2 things. I think for me, don't underestimate the power of social media. Like, because in the beginning of this business, I had launched my business. I had launched the website at the same time that I opened at Turnstile, my little kiosk there. And I think because of my background in being in retail, I was sort of quick to say, oh, I'm going to set myself a retail location because that's what I know, right? That's what I love. And so I did that, but I think it might have been premature because nobody knew who I was. And I only had like a handful of like farmers market, like market pop-ups, that I had done. And so I think I was maybe too quick to do that. And so I wasn't getting like kind of the customer recognition at Turnstile, although again, if I could get people to stop and taste it, they would, a lot of the time they would buy. But and then with the whole pandemic situation, which, nobody could anticipate what had happened there, but I had to shut down that location, of course. And so luckily, thank God, I had the website already up and running, but I just really hadn't paid any attention to it. I just sort of had it there, and I had some sales over the holidays, but I really was just like, it was just there. But what I really did that finally changed the game, because I was having an organic kind of customer growth that was very slow. Like somebody who knew me would order brownies and send them to somebody else, and then that person would love it and then turn around and order for somebody else, right? But it was a slow growth, and I needed something much faster and to get to many more people. So I finally started a social media ad campaign in September of last year. And then that really changed everything, because then all of a sudden, like, my brand is nationwide and getting all this attention, so it's like, and I also was lucky enough to have a top, like a Michelin-starred chef, Sabir Saran, who I know, and he gave me a wonderful, like, kind of quote to put on this ad campaign so people knew that, like, the foodie kind of literacy was there. And so that helped too. But, like, as they always say, what is that old adage? Like, you have to spend money to make money. This is very true. And, like, so I think you have to, like, the power of social media just can't be undervalued. I said that backwards. It really is valuable. And it really changed everything, because I was just really kind of, last summer it was really scary because I was not getting enough traffic. But then that changed it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for coming on. Definitely continue the great success. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Terrell. It's been really nice talking to you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.